make sure you pick up my 2 books that's in Amazon right now. The first one is Passive-Aggressive Racism and the System of White Supremacy. And I talk about in that particular book how the system of white supremacy really runs and on our daily lives here in America. In our latest book, 7 Steps to Decolonize the Mind, we go through those steps to try to deprogram you from the system of white supremacy. Make sure you can pick up those books on Amazon.com.
Introducing the African Diaspora News Channel app, your gateway to stories that's overlooked by the corporate mainstream media.
At African Diaspora News Channel, we cover stories that don't receive mainstream attention, and we serve as the voice to the global Black community. We are committed to informing and educating through the power of media, connecting the African diaspora one story at a time.
With our platform, we're helping to end injustice by exposing it.
Join us in standing for excellence in journalism and serving our community. Download the African Diaspora News app today.
Peace, 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 family. Thank you so much for tuning into African Diaspora News Channel. My name is Vicki Dillard, and I'm one of the contributors here, and I'm so pleased to be with you today. Family, be sure to share the broadcast with you so that other folks will know that we are here. Family, I have got some very, very interesting broadcasts to share with you today. I won't be long, but I will be strong. Talk black to me, somebody, family. Now, I want you all to know and remind you that we, foundational Black Americans, Native Black Americans, foundational Black Americans, however you want to qualify yourself as those that are responsible for the building and the creation of these United States of America as we know it, we are the most loving, kindest people on the planet. Yes, family, there's nobody that loves and accepts other people groups like we do. And unfortunately, it's been to our detriment. We are not even against migrants and other folks from other countries. How many of you all know that it was only during the 60s that the civil rights legislation passed to give us quote unquote so-called civil rights, and in that same decade in the 60s, the voting rights bill to give us the right to vote? How many of you all knew about that? Well, how many of you all knew that right around that same time frame, that major legislation for immigrants passed during that same time, and the momentum from Black Americans is what's credited for that major legislation for immigrants that were able to come here in the United States and receive protections because of that legislation in the same time frame? How in the world is it possible that those of us that are responsible for the creation of the United States of America, foundational Black Americans, how is it that foreigners, migrants, immigrants, however you want to label them, were able to get major protections around the same time? Talk black to me, somebody. How was that possible? That's us. Are y'all hearing me today? So I want you to keep that in mind. Now, the moment we start to track down and the moment we start to put our foot down and say, wait a minute now, we have been helping everybody but us. Talk black to me, somebody. We have been assisting other folks, putting other folks' issues before ours. The moment we do that, different people groups want to all of a sudden accuse us of being anti this, anti that. Well, we're not going for that today, family. We're just going to deal with the straight facts. Yes? Well, I want to ask you all a very interesting question. We have been certainly calling out the bones and biscuits and the bootlegs, those who look like us, but are actually working most effectively for our open enemy. Yes? For the systems and the institutions that are against us. Yes? Well, family, one of those groups and institutions that we've been giving that everlasting work to for a long time is the Congressional Black Caucus. Why? Because even though in name, they say that they're a caucus, a congressional legislative caucus that's supposed to get together, which means that there are members from the Senate, which there are very few Black senators, of course, but I think Cory Booker is one of the few that's still maybe a part of the CBC. But members, in addition to the Senate, but members of the House of Representatives. Yes, if you're in Congress and you're a Black American, you more than likely are a member of the Congressional Black Caucus. Yes. And it's not limited just even to your party affiliation. It's just the fact that you are a congressperson and that you're Black and you're supposed to be there as a legislative caucus to come up with agendas and to push so that you're on the same page, allegedly issues that's supposed to matter to your Black constituencies throughout the United States. Well, what we have found, we continue to find a pattern of supporting and being the tool. Is there a toolbox emoji in the chat? Somebody, can you put it in there? Family, they have decided to be voluntary tools for other people groups and other agendas versus putting Black issues, substantive issues first in America. Now, how many of you all knew about the fact that the Congressional Black Caucus received, some say coercion, others say suggestion and sponsorship to go to meet with Prime Minister Netanyahu around September, early September of 2023. How many of you all know that's before the big brouhaha over there? So almost a month before that thing hit off, they were summoned there by Prime Minister Netanyahu, the Congressional Black Caucus. And at least 10 members took their funny looking selves over there. Now, I'm going to tell you why we are saying that something smells really, really, really fishy about this. Now, before I give my 2 cents on this, you all know we only come with the receipts, right? Well, this headline that you should see up on your screen here in a moment is from Israel. And this piece specifically, the headline is Netanyahu welcomes Black Democratic Congress members as he angles for White House invite. Now, I know some of y'all like, what you mean angles for White House invite? You mean to tell me that before October 7th, Netanyahu wasn't invited to the White House? This, baby, keep listening. Baby, keep listening. Everybody be sure to share the broadcast and listen. Let everybody know Vicki Dillard is on live on African Diaspora News channel. Watch this. Are y'all ready? Now, this is from the Jewish Post News. Watch this. It says, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with 10 members of the Congressional Black Caucus as he tries to improve his standing with the Biden administration and among Democrats. I know some of you all are taking double and triple takes right now. I know some of you all are saying, wait a minute. What you mean? You mean a year ago, Vicki, before this stuff went off? That the White House wasn't even willing to meet with Benjamin Netanyahu? The Democrats at large were distancing themselves, and even some of the Republicans? Keep listening, family. The meeting Sunday in Jerusalem was part of a visit sponsored in part. Wait a minute, before I go there. I need what I forgot to tell you. Well, no, I did mention this, but I want to, y'all know I believe in giving you receipts. Do you all see the date of this article? The date of this article is what? September 2023, okay? That's why I want you to keep this in mind. I want you to keep in mind this next part. The meeting Sunday in Jerusalem was part of a visit sponsored by, in part, y'all ready? By the American Israel Education Foundation, an affiliate of the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. How many of y'all know that's AIPAC? For those of you that don't know, AIPAC is a foreign pact that influences Congress on behalf of them, and they have a connection here with their association with the United States of America. That's why it's called, as I just read here, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. It says it came, y'all listen, as some U.S. Democrats are keeping their distance from Netanyahu because of his government's efforts to sap the power of Israel's judiciary. Now, family, without me getting into a whole lot of details about the goings on over there, because I don't want to miss the forest for the trees. For those of you that don't know, there's been a lot of drama that was going on over there. Hundreds of thousands of their citizens were taken to the streets, and the United States was keeping that quiet. Mainstream legacy media here in the United States and throughout the West didn't inform many of us that this was going on over there. Plus, a lot of you all don't know that Benjamin Netanyahu has 3 criminal cases piled up against him, and some have felt like he's been using that predicament to avoid going to court by keeping a lot of mess going on around the world. You know what I'm talking about. Talk black to me. Now, I know some of you all like, Vicki, just speak straight. Family, you all know we're on different platforms. We're trying to keep the main thing. You understand what I'm saying? Yes? Now watch this. If you want more details, you can join my school at the Vicki Dillard Mystery School. Go to my website at VickiPlanet.com, where I break down details in my webinars offline. Yes, but we respect these different platforms. So understand where I'm going with this. Yes, watch this. It goes on. The delegation was led by Lucy McBath, a Georgia Democrat whose suburban Atlanta district includes substantial Jewish population, and Representative Nakima Williams, a Georgia Democrat who co-chairs a Congressional Caucus on Black-Jewish relations. From the outset of the meeting, y'all listen, Netanyahu emphasized his commitment to bipartisan U.S. support for Israel. Quote, "It's an opportunity to cement our relationship, which is always based on a bipartisan relationship between Israel and both sides of the House and sides of Senate," he said, according to the text released by his office. "It's very important for us, and I view this meeting as an important building block in this relationship." Y'all ready for this next part? Now, this is where we're trying to get to. This is where I'm trying to get to expose the CBC for not doing the business of Black folks in America. Watch this. It says, the Israeli Prime Minister has so far failed to secure a White House meeting with President Joe Biden, who has made clear his unhappiness with Netanyahu's far-right government and plans to overhaul Israel's court system. The White House has said the two leaders will encounter each other later this month when both attend the UN General Assembly, but has studiously avoided confirming by Netanyahu officials that there will be a White House meeting. It says that he has been dogged, Netanyahu that is, for years by suspicions among Democrats that he favors Republicans. It goes on to say how Black Democrats especially were furious with him in 2015 when he accepted an invitation by Republicans to speak in Congress to lambast the Iran policies of President Barack Obama. So for those of you that forgot, Netanyahu came to the United States and did some dirty business on behalf of the Republicans against the first quote-unquote Black President Barack Obama. So the CBC, to maintain and to protect Obama, some of them boycotted him. They was upset that Netanyahu played dirty with Obama and disrespected him like that. But when he comes calling, and when the white Joe Biden refused to meet with him, even when some of the Republicans were keeping their distance and the Democrats at large were keeping the distance, he found some faithful tools. Do you all understand where I'm going with this? Now, before this, remember they told us that we're anti this and anti that if we didn't connect with Israel. But how many of you all know that just days before the incident of October 7th, he couldn't even get in a meeting with Joe Biden? And even some of the Republicans and the Democrats were keeping their distance. That's based on other reports and stuff too as well. Y'all know I do my homework. And I'm giving you the receipts here. Why am I bringing this up? Did Joy Reid, did Roland Martin, did Tiffany Cross and them, did Fox News and CNN, did they give you all back-to-back wall coverage on this? Why didn't your legacy media tell you that much of Congress, both sides, were keeping their distance from their best ally? But the only pathetic group that he could get to go over there to meet with him are your Black bootlegs who won't even push reparations or tangibles for us. Do you all see why I'm upset? They were willing to do the bidding and get on the plane, cross the water, the ocean, and the seas. They were willing to go to a war zone, family, thumb their nose at Black folks' issues to be a tool for Netanyahu, but still do nothing for us. Even Joe Biden was refusing to meet with him. Much of Congress were keeping their distance because they were trying to put pressure on him because he was making America and the West look real bad because his own people were rising up against him. He was trying to change the judiciary over there, which means the court system. Some say to favor him, so in case he ended up being convicted or something like that, he would get off. He's in big trouble over there. And the fact is that it's been nonstop, his own people rallying and protesting against him. So America was upset with him because he was willing to put the whole a war machine at risk for just one man. So America was mad at Netanyahu for not just kind of stepping down or at least backing off of his craziness that he was doing with the courts over there. But most of us didn't know that, did we? Because they were too busy covering for them. Watch this. It goes on. I'm skipping down here. AIPAC has in recent months been aggressively pushing back against claims by rival J Street that is losing support among Democrats and progressives because his political action committee affiliates backed pro-Trump Republican election deniers in the last election. Now they going back and forth with that Trump stuff, right? That was before the election, obviously. So that was some of that was at play, that they felt that Netanyahu was playing dirty with Trump leading up to the election, in case you don't understand all of that language. I'm trying to move forward here, okay? It says AIPAC's PACs and PACs close to AIPAC have backed. Now that's a lot of PACs, ain't it, y'all? For those of you that don't know, PAC in America stands for Political Action Committees. These are like affiliate organizations and groups that are not necessarily officially government groups, but they can basically raise money and do kind of political activity on behalf of a certain party. Yes? Watch this. It says that AIPACs, PACs, and PACs close to AIPAC. That's a lot of packing, ain't it? Have backed McBath, Williams, and others on the delegation, including Representative Richie Torres of New York. Family, how many of you all remember our living legend? I'm thinking of the right words. Our living legend, Dr. Claude Anderson, who was appointed by Jimmy Carter's administration to work in the, I think it was a Commerce Department or something like that. So Dr. Claude Anderson, who worked in federal government, who was appointed by a former president administration, right? So he worked in federal government. Dr. Claude Anderson, who has run political campaigns and won. Dr. Claude Anderson, who led a major educational department, I think it was in Florida somewhere. Dr. Claude Anderson, who had deep connections with the former governor, I think it was Governor Askew down there in Florida. Dr. Claude Anderson, who's well into his 80s, which means he's an octogenarian. He is the one that was known for working with staunch anti-Black Congress people and still getting stuff done. How many of y'all know back in the day, it was Dr. Claude Anderson that was responsible for negotiating and getting certain Black judges at that time appointed on the bench? Did y'all know that? Did you all know that his connections to the government and his negotiating skills on behalf of Black folks, he's the one that was able to get Black businesses large numbers of contracts and stuff during, I believe it was one of the DNC, Democratic National Committees, one of their events or something like that they was having. He was the one that was the main force behind getting a disproportionate large number of Black companies and firms contracts. Did y'all know that about Dr. Claude? Did you all know that Dr. Claude has multiple books on economics and so forth, but he has spent literally hundreds of thousands of his own dollars to fight for Black folks in court to get us a form of reparations or tangibles using treaties? There are provisions in some of the treaties that we've given Indians tangibles for, but there were provisions in there that were supposed to be given for Black folks. Do you all know that he's pro-reparations? Do you all know that it was Dr. Claude Anderson who calls out the Black boule and been calling them out? Ask yourself, how is it that Dr. Claude Anderson is an academic, worked in federal government, appointed by a Democrat administration, worked on multiple election campaigns, both state and federal, successful and all that, but yet other folks don't want to fool with him? That's because of how he uses his education. See, they don't like the Black academics that demand reparations. Let me hit the gavel on that. Why am I bringing up Dr. Claude in this context? Dr. Claude told us, instructed us in multiple lectures and throughout in many of his books, like Powernomics, that we need to have funds to buy your Congress people. Y'all, I know y'all don't like that, but this is a man that understands how power works behind the scenes, from the White House on down. He told us how they play dirty. He told us that you have to have the resources so that you can have the lobbyists. That's what this article is talking about when it's talking about APAC. This article on APAC is nothing but a political organization. This is the kind of stuff that Dr. Claude is telling us, that we need the money and the resources so that we can wield power against these very groups. How many of y'all know that Dr. Claude has been calling out these specific groups for decades? Probably longer than most of us being born. I'm 45, almost 46 years of age. He's been calling this out for that much time and greater. This is how AIPAC is able to get both Republicans and Democrats who don't agree on nothing but war. How is it that they can get support from both sides of the aisle, and not just both sides of the aisle? Let's tell the truth. Even Bernie Sanders, even though Bernie be trying to come out and act like he's pro-liberal and all that, child, please. Even Bernie, especially at the beginning of that brouhaha that's happening in the Middle East. How many of y'all know Bernie Sanders? He was all for Netanyahu and all the rest of them too. They had to talk him down to even to do some of the stuff he's been doing lately. So it doesn't even matter if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent. So many of them kowtow to them. That's because of how they use their political action committees. We can actually learn a thing or two from AIPAC. Black family. Hello, Congressional Black Caucus. They should be one of the main agencies that we should be able to use to wield power. But you see, they're over there about that life for other people. And it's not about their religious affiliation. At the end of the day, it comes down to money and resources and influence. And this is what we're calling out AIPAC about. The Congressional Black Congress about, and their connection to AIPAC. Now watch this. Lucy McBath, how many of y'all know? That's why I want to bring this other part about. I had to put that other part in there parenthetically about Dr. Claude Anderson, because I think too many of us forget that he already gave us the blueprint, and now we're sitting up here seeing how well they wield power, but he told us that's exactly how we need to do it, so we need to be taking a lesson from them, yes? Now, why am I going back to remind you who some of these Congressional Black Caucus folks are? How many of y'all know who Congresswoman McBath is? Miss Lucy McBath, one of the main folks that I just mentioned that took her hips over there to Israel. She came into Congress family because of the murder of her son, Jordan Davis. How many of y'all remember that? How many of y'all remember her son was taken out by one of these crazy white supremacists in November, I think it was, of 2012. Y'all remember that? Then she became an advocate, right, for gun control. It says joining other mothers of Black murder victims to form what they call the Mothers of the Movement. I'm trying to read to make sure I'm getting the title right. I think it's called Mothers of the Movement. And then the Democrats used her in 2016 for the Democratic National Convention. So y'all see how when they can identify Black trauma, they identify somebody that could be a face of our issues, turn around, slip her into Congress so they can use her for their issues, which is fine if she's going to do the right thing. But I no disrespect, Miss McBath, and I'm not going to sit here and disrespect her or the loss of her son. But how many of y'all been hearing her talk anything about reparations for Black folks? How many of y'all in America been hearing her say anything about substantive stuff for FBAs? But you're going to jump yourself on a plane to go over there to Israel? Ma'am, please take 15, 16, 17 seats. She ran for the House of Representatives in 2018, defeating the Republican incumbent Karen Handel, and defeating her again in 2020. It says that she switched to the 7th district after redistricting in 2020 made the 6th significantly more favorable to Republican. She defeated the 7th incumbent, Carolyn Bordeaux, in the Democratic primary and won the general election. Now, I'm bringing that up because I want y'all to pay attention to how the Democrats choose who's going to be their representatives, but then they turn around and use her to do the bidding of a foreign nation over us. Now, why am I bringing this up? Because we're sending hundreds of billions of dollars and have done so for almost 70 years for Israel, but you all haven't given us one red cent for reparations. And if we ask you about reparations, you will look at us like you done lost your mind. But you find it perfectly sound and okay to continue to fund foreign nations like them and hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine and illegal immigrants in America and legal immigrants and AAPI community and Afghans and give substantive legislation for LGBTQ issues and stuff and our open enemy still benefited. Are y'all hearing me today? This is the part that's so outrageous. Let me get back to this article here from Jerusalem Post. What else does it say here? It says, I just told you that it says that he failed to secure a meeting with White House, right? With President Joe Biden, right? It talks about a drama that he had back and forth with the Democrats and all this other kind of stuff, right? It says, watch this. It's the part I want you to hear about this AIPAC group. It says AIPAC in recent months has aggressively been pushing back against claims by rival J Street that it is losing support among Democrats. So they couldn't get no white Democrats, y'all, because all of them was on code with Joe Biden, the white ones. But it took the black bootlicks to go over there and say, we'll go over there and be the face of the people. If you look at the article, on the front of the article, you will see your funny looking CBC, Congressional Black Caucus members, just smiling away, excited to be called and chosen. The delegation will continue, it says, to Rwanda. Williams told the Atlanta Journal-Constitution last week that a theme of the visit was recovery. It says here, from the war that's going on, saying the delegation would study the two countries' efforts to build common ground while developing and growing socially, culturally, and economically out of tragedy. They was talking about Rwanda in that particular part of the article. Now, I want to refer you really quickly to something else related to the CBC. Y'all look at this. I'm reading now from this article that's headline. What's the name of this one? Here we go. Got it. This one is titled from, is this Yahoo? No, this is from the Griot, which, by the way, the Griot has me blocked. Ain't that crazy? Your black publications are supposed to be so pro-black, but they got your sister with the curly braids blocked. The headline from the Griot here says Congressional Black Caucus demands Biden take action to address bias against black migrants. It says it's important to recognize that black migrants face additional barriers when seeking asylum, both at the Mexico-U.S. border and once in the United States, said Letty Perez, policy director of Asylum Seeker Advocacy Project that's known as ASAP. The Congressional Black Caucus sent a letter to President Joe Biden on Monday demanding that he address biased immigration policies that disproportionately impact African and Caribbean migrants. It is imperative we prioritize comprehensive immigration reform so we can address the inequities faced by black migrants within our immigration system. Family, I know we got a large viewership around the world in the black diaspora, the African diaspora. Family, this is not to disrespect you. We're trying to show you the hypocrisy that the CBC group, which has a whole lot of Caribbean members, those that got a whole lot of immigrant families and lineage, their mamas and daddies in them from other countries. But they have not managed to construct a letter to Joe Biden to tell him get to work on reparations, get to work on some form of economic package specifically for foundational Black Americans. I want to know what was discussed in that Congressional Black Caucus meeting that they had with Netanyahu when even Joe Biden was refusing to meet with them. There's been speculation from certain folks whether or not they passed sensitive information to Congressional Black Caucus members to give to Joe Biden. People find it suspicious that just a few weeks before October 7th, you meet with them and lo and behold, all this stuff falls out. You could even get a meeting with Joe Biden. You could even get a meeting with a lot of white Democrats. Even some of the Republicans was quietly keeping you at a distance. But magically after that, Joe Biden, who we know something is wrong with him. Joe Biden can't keep any sentences or thoughts together, anything that makes sense or comprehensive together. But Joe Biden got on the plane and went all the way over there to Israel. Magically after that. Why did the Congressional Black Caucus, even when nobody else was willing to meet with him, do it for a foreign government, but won't even put forward a serious reparations or tangible or economic package or proposal for us? Now, how many of you all know that they suggested a Lift Every Voice bus tour to help out Kamala Harris campaign? Did y'all? How many of y'all saw me drag up they funny looking self some time ago when I did that broadcast? CBC, that's what that was the most that they did, they quote unquote did in recent time for us. They made a multi-million-dollar proposal, to Kamala Harris' billion-dollar campaign. The money that she raised, remember? They said, give us these millions so we can do a bus tour for Lift Every Voice bus tour. So we can go into the black neighborhoods, because they were acknowledging then that they knew that there was going to be some problems with certain black folks staying home. So they was trying to warn Kamala Harris even then. So that lets you know that the Congressional Black Caucus, they secretly knew that their internal numbers showed that a large number of black folks will not be voting for her. And they were so concerned that they even sent her campaign a multi-million-dollar private proposal so they could get on the bus and come into our neighborhoods to try to turn some of us out to vote. Did y'all know that? I'm bringing that up to say they made us look crazy when they said, oh, they just playing. When they mocked us, when they ignored some of our voices, when Kamala Harris refused to even meet with media, and then she specifically refused to even meet with the Black Journalists Organization, remember? But they got mad when Trump showed up to the meeting. This is one of the reasons she lost. You cannot disrespect your most faithful voting bloc. You cannot do the bidding of a foreign countries consistently and refuse to do something for us. Yes, we're looking at you crazy. And yes, some of us do want to know, were they paid off in other ways? Some of us want to know, was it sensitive information that they passed on behalf of him? Because they didn't want them tracking that information with these little surveillance technological devices and stuff. And because even Joe Biden, the white Democrats, refused to meet with him, and even some of the Republicans, we're wanting to know, why is it that your black Democrats are willing to be the Aunt Jemimas and the shucker and jivers for an anti-black system and political group? Do y'all understand this is another reason why we despise the two-party system, and why in particular we're holding the Democrats accountable? Because this is the shady stuff that they do. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about it. My name is Vicki Dillard, beloved. Thank you so much for tuning in to African Diaspora News Channel. I look forward to seeing you again. I'm looking forward to a few times a week joining you noon, joining you here on African Diaspora News Channel at 1 p.m. What is it? Is it 2 p.m. Central? 2 p.m. Eastern? Yes, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central. So I look forward to seeing you a few days a week here. We'll get you the details of that. But family, be sure to share the broadcast. Of course, you can check out my website, my products and services, and my spiritual school at VickiPlanet.com. That's VICKI